Today, we look at a boxer who was the first black middleweight champion of the world. How good was the Georgia Deacon Tiger Flowers? Theodore Flowers was born on August 5, 1895, in Camilla, Georgia. Flowers stood 5 feet 10 and had a 76-inch reach. He had an aggregate weight of around 165 pounds for his career. Flowers' career spanned from 1918 to 1927. He had 119 wins, 15 losses, and 8 draws. 56 of his wins were by knockout. His win percentage was 83, and his knockout percentage was 39. Flowers was a very religious man and took on boxing to earn money for his family. Flowers is one of boxing's greatest all-around fighters and a true road warrior. Willing to fight anywhere, the Southpaw had a high-level IQ that allowed him to adapt to all variations of opponents in a deep middleweight division during his era. His defensive prowess made him hard to hit and a complete fighter, coupled with his sharp twitch countering ability. Flowers had his first major fight on August 8, 1921, when he squared off with rival Panama Joe Gans in Atlanta, Georgia. During this era, Gans was one of the great black middleweights and colored middleweight champions, but he never got a shot at the world middleweight title. While Flowers came in undefeated with 19 wins, Gans was a 74-fight veteran and used his experience to overwhelm Flowers. Gans dropped Flowers twice before stopping him with a body shot in the 6th round. Flowers and Gans would rematch on December 15, 1921. This time, more battle-hardened Flowers would gain the edge and secure a knockout in 5 rounds. 2 fights later, on January 30, 1922, Flowers would enter the ring with another legendary black fighter to scull multiple weights, Kid Norfolk. Norfolk was a veteran of more than 100 fights and had been in with some of the greatest fighters of all time. He made quick work of Flowers, knocking him out in the 3rd round. The competition didn't get any easier for Flowers as on June 5, 1922, he faced off against a man widely regarded as the greatest fighter of all time, the Boston Bone Crusher, Sam Langford. Langford was a veteran of more than 250 fights and still arguably the most dangerous fighter in boxing. It only took Langford 2 rounds to end Flowers' night, handing him his 5th career KO loss. Never one to back down, Flowers rematched Kid Norfolk in his next fight in July, fighting to a draw. On May 8, 1923, Flowers and Kid Norfolk met for the final time with the colored light heavyweight title on the line. Norfolk iced Flowers in 1 round to close the chapter on the rivalry. A couple of weeks later, on May 25, Flowers would close the chapter on another early rival when he thoroughly outboxed now declining Panama Joe Gans to win a 12-round decision. On September 17, 1923, Flowers would travel to Mexico City to take on veteran, fireman Jim Flynn. Tigers would lose this bout after a hand injury forced him out of the fight in the 5th round. Flowers bounced back from the Flynn loss and went on a 21-fight unbeaten streak through the latter part of 1924, setting him in line for a matchup with legendary middleweight champion and another man regarded as the greatest fighter ever, the Pittsburgh Windmill, Harry Greb. The 2 men faced off on August 21, 1924. Greb was the world middleweight champion at the time. The fight turned out to be a high-class, but rough-and-tumble chess match as stylistically, Flowers was the high-output Greb's equal on the defensive front. The 2 men battled back and forth and left observers in awe at the end of the fight as many felt Flowers had gained a slight edge over Greb. The decision ultimately went to Greb, but Flowers gained a newfound respect and popularity afterward. After 2 September wins over heavyweight contender Tut Jackson on December 9, Flowers added a 3rd-round knockout of former world middleweight champion Johnny Wilson. On December 26, Flowers drew with the underrated light heavyweight great, Frankie Scholl. Flowers closed 1923 having gone a remarkable 36-1-1. The loss to Greb and the draw with Scholl could have gone his way. Flowers started 1925 with a January and February loss to middle and light heavyweight Hall of Famer, Jack Delaney. Flowers was knocked out in the 4th and 2nd rounds, respectively. After hitting him with a low blow, Flowers dropped a February loss to the underrated blonde Italian, Lou Bogash. Flowers would subsequently defeat Bogash for additional times in later fights. After dropping a June 5 loss to underrated middleweight Jock Malone, Flowers would step in with another great Gans, Allentown Joe Gans, on August 21. Flowers would win a 10-round decision followed by a 10-round points victory over Jock Malone a week later. Flowers lost a highly disputed 10-round decision to former world light heavyweight champion Mike McTeague on December 23, 1925. Flowers troubled McTeague throughout the fight, with the latter unable to figure out how to stop the southpaw. The decision was met with a cast of boos ringing down on the judges. Undeterred, the fight of Flowers' life came on February 26, 1926, when he again faced off with Harry Greb, though this time, the world middleweight title was on the line. Like the first matchup, the style clash made for an interesting fight as Greb's overwhelming style was met with defensive genius from Flowers. Greb, who was likely blind in one eye at the time, was able to offer more offensively compared to their previous fight and seemingly took a slight lead on Flowers. When the verdict was read, the Georgia Deacon, Tiger Flowers, was announced as the winner of the 15-round contest via split decision. Tigers became the first black world middleweight champion in boxing history with the win. After a unanimous decision victory over Allentown Joe Gans in their April 1926 rematch, Flowers would put his title on the line against Harry Greb in their trilogy match on August 19 of the same year. Like the first two meetings, opinions varied. The two men fought a hotly contested and rough fight inside, Greb using roughhouse tactics, while Flowers remained posed and steady in return. Both fighters had leading moments. Flowers would win the 15-round decision to retain his world middleweight title. This would be the final fight of Greb's career, and he died just over a month later after surgery complications led to heart failure at 32. Flowers would lose another fight via disqualification when a low blow brought a halt to his fight with Maxie Rosenblum on October 26, 1926. Rosenblum would become one of the greatest fighters and champions in the sport's history. On December 12, 1926, Flowers would put his title on the line with Hall of Famer, toy bulldog Mickey Walker. Despite suffering a knockdown, wide consensus was that Tiger Flowers decisively outboxed Walker, routinely thwarting Walker's offense. The referee rendered the decision solely, per Illinois rules, and in favor of Mickey Walker, making him the new world middleweight champion. The match was later investigated, but Walker remained the victor. Intent on regaining the middleweight title, Flowers would face and lose to the underrated light heavyweight, the Aberdeen assassin Leo Lomsky on January 22, 1927 via 10-round decision. Flowers would bounce back, continuing his winning ways before drawing with Slopsy Maxie Rosenblum in their July 24, 1927 rematch. After defeating Jock Malone again in August, Flowers would defeat former world welterweight champion Pete Latzo on September 30, before again drawing with Maxie Rosenblum on November 9, 1927. Flowers would have one additional 1927 fight, stopping Leo Gates in 4 rounds. This turned out to be his final fight. Flowers faced 6 Hall of Famers. His most notable fights were against Panama Joe Gans, Kid Norfolk, Sam Langford, Jack Delaney, Harry Greb, Allentown Joe Gans, Mickey Walker, Maxie Rosenblum, and Pete Latzo. Tiger Flowers died on November 16, 1927, at 32, due to complications from surgery to remove scar tissue from his eyes. His death, eerily similar to that of his greatest rival, Harry Greb, was met with shock. Also, much like Greb, Flowers cemented his legacy as one of the greatest fighters in boxing history by the age of 32. Few can rival the resume and skill set of Flowers. A man of faith, Flowers' shadow oversaw the dawning of a new era that at the very least provided hope for other black middleweights. Flowers was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1993.